I think that people are hungry for the presence of God. I think
Yeah.
I think that people are hungry even to um sing these songs to the Lord. This is my prayer. It really is like a prayer put to a song. And but worship really is this the response of my heart, the posture of my heart. When I see who God is and all that He's done in my life, I can't help but worship Him.
Hey there, it is Faith Talk Today. I'm Rick Probst, and welcome to another amazing weekend. Now, this is a special show because this young lady is huge. Meredith Andrews with us, and she's got so much going on. I don't even know if we can cram this into one show, but we're going to try to do as much as possible. And thank you, my producer, Ezra Ortiz, for getting with Meredith's folks. And Meredith, thank you so much for hanging with us this weekend.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Rick.
Okay, so you are a legend of sorts.
Goodness.
So we are so grateful to have you. You, of course, worship singer and songwriter, and we've been enjoying your stuff for a long, long time. You're not that old, but we've enjoyed your stuff for a long, long time. In fact, this morning I was on Spotify because that's my vehicle for listening to stuff, and I was listening to "God of the Living," which is one of your latest singles. So we'll get into that in a second. So thank you so much for being a part of the show. Now, when you go and Google Meredith Andrews, and you know how when you Google people, it says like, what is Meredith Andrews doing? Who is Meredith Andrews married to? How many, that kind of, how much does she make in a year? Which I didn't look at. I don't really
I
care.
don't even know how much I'm making a year.
That's your thing. But what is she doing now? And according to Google, you are a part of the belonging company at your home church there in Nashville. And you mentioned to me that from time to time you worship at another church there. And is it near Nashville?
Yes, it's in Hendersonville, which is just north of Nashville. It's a
Yeah,
church
yeah.
called Long Hollow. So yeah, I'm up there about once or twice a month, but also serving at Belonging and love both houses very much.
All right. We're going to ask you a couple of things and we'll get into the stuff like Worship Through Israel, something you're doing. You've
Yeah,
got a live album that hopefully a song will be released at the end of this year and
that's
then the
correct.
entire project later on next year.
Yep.
When you write, now there's a lot of folks that want to know as you worship and you write, is it a formal thing for you? Or do you just kind of flow with it? Or is it a little bit of both? Is it like, hey, we're worshiping together, bang, you get a ping on a word or a phrase? Or do you sit down and go, this is what I'm writing about? This is how it's going to begin, middle, and end. What's your story, Meredith?
Yes, and it's all the things. So it's all of it. And it's never necessarily predictable, but there have been times when I've written songs out of sermon notes. There have been times when I've written songs out of just like a spontaneous moment in worship, something that I camped out on. And I took that phrase and said, I want to build around this. I want to write a song around this. And then there are a lot of moments where I'll go into a room with other writers and we'll have a conversation and something will stick out to all of us in that conversation, or somebody will bring a thought or an idea or a phrase or a chorus, and then we just kind of build upon it in that moment. So it really can look so many different ways, and that's the beautiful part about songwriting, is that there's really no formula necessarily. It's really just what is authentic to you in the moment and the people that you're writing with, what resonates, what is it that you want to say to the Lord, what is it that you want to communicate through a song.
Has it surprised you at all over the years? And we love to worship and we know worship is powerful, but the whole worship, I mean, worship is on the radio. It's on every platform like, Pandora, etc. Has it surprised you any how huge that worship is?
Well, no, and I granted, I could talk about this for a very long time, and I know we're limited on time, but worship isn't a genre of music necessarily. I know that we use it as a qualifier and like to define and understand this is kind of what we're talking about. This happened in a live setting more so. This is a vertical song. We're singing to the Lord, and inviting people with us to sing in one voice to Him, right? So I think that's kind of like the how we define a worship song, if you will. But I think that people are hungry for the presence of God. I think that people are hungry even to um sing these songs to the Lord. This is my prayer. It really is like a prayer put to a song. And but worship really is this the response of my heart, the posture of my heart. When I see who God is and all that He's done in my life, I can't help but worship Him, you know? And so I think it's amazing that we're seeing it more and more widespread, because I think people really want to have this direct relationship, encounter, conversation with God. And when we sing these things out to the Lord, when we declare who He is, the truth of who He is and what He's done in our lives, then what's beautiful is that God inhabits the praises of His people, and He
Yeah,
meets with us. He meets us right where we are. And so I think even for people in their cars, when they're listening to the radio, sorry, my dog wants to chime in too.
that's all right.
Um, when when we're, people are driving in their cars and they're hearing worship music per se, they enter into this conversation. They get to sing this out to the Lord wherever they are. It doesn't have to be in the four walls of a church.
Meredith Andrews, worship singer songwriter. We're going to talk about worship through Israel in a second. Yeah, Ezra and I were talking before you came on the show about denominations, and it's the thing about worship, but it breaks down denominational walls. Thank God
Hmm.
that, and it is that presence, isn't it, that we all hunger for.
Absolutely.
Thank you for what you do, and I know that's your passion and that's your heart. Let's segue into this worship through Israel. I think this is really cool. Tell us about it. Worship through Israel.
Yeah, so I've been connected with what used to be Worship Leader magazine for probably 14, 15 years. I used to do their conferences back in the day. I remember many of those conferences. I was pregnant because my kids are now 13, 10, and almost 9. But yeah, it's just amazing people. And they came to me and said, hey, we want to go to Israel, and here's our vision for it. We want to basically worship our way through Israel at all these significant locations, Sea of Galilee, Mount of Beatitudes, Garden Tomb, in Jerusalem. We're going to get to lift up the praise of Jesus, lift up the name of Jesus in those places, understanding that when we worship the Lord, everywhere we set our foot, everywhere we declare His truth, His promises, His name, we are taking ground in the Spirit. Worship is warfare. We are pushing back the darkness. We are the light of the world, and we get to declare who God is in those places, in the Holy Land. And so we're taking a bunch of worship leaders with us. It'll be next fall, early next fall. Well, it may still be summer, depending on when we do it. We're looking at September next year. But yeah, we're just going to bring worshipers with us, people who have a heart to lift up the name of Jesus and understand the intentionality of it, the significance of it. And then we're also going to be ministering to and bringing alongside with us worship leaders that are local in Israel. And I'm just so looking forward to it. I've been to Israel one time before, back in 2018. It was with a group of 700 people. So it was like we had, I don't know, 12 buses. So this will be a little bit smaller than that. And
Hmm.
we'll get to know all the people on the team, and it'll be really geared towards worshiping Jesus in the Holy Land, where He walked, where He taught. And I'm just so excited. I wish it was already here. But yes, people can sign up, come along with us. It's going to be incredible.
Worshipthroughisrael.com if you'd like to know more information. I'm sure this will happen. Somebody will record it, video, audio, etc., because to capture those moments you guys
Yeah.
are going to get into, that's amazing. Good on you guys. Meredith Andrews with us, worship singer and songwriter. No doubt you've heard her stuff. You probably have some of her stuff. You probably stream some of her stuff. Her latest is God of the Living, and I just listened to it this morning, and it is amazing. Um, Tell us a little bit about this particular song. This is the first of what, two so far?
Well, so these two songs, there were two songs that released at the same time. It was God of the Living and My Undoing. And they were kind of just like songs that I needed to release, songs that I had written a while ago and just felt like, okay, they're not necessarily going to be part of a project per se. They're just kind of like they're going to live standalone a little bit, well, coupled together. But so yeah, God of the Living was a song that I wrote back in 2020 with my husband and our friend Mitch Wong, and it really is this idea that Jesus is the giver of life. He is the resurrection and the life. There is no death in him. There is no corruption in him. He took on death. He defeated the grave. And so now he is the God of the living. And, sometimes in our own lives, we have to speak life over things that may appear dead. And sometimes we have to call the things that are not yet as though they were. That's the authority that we have in Jesus. And we have it because of the fact that he didn't stay dead. He went to the cross. He took our punishment upon himself. And 3 days later, he rose from the grave. He defeated death and hell. And so now that very same power that raised Jesus from the dead is alive inside of us. So again, we get to, with our mouths, declare that he is the God of the living. And that same power, that same life is alive and well in us. And that's the essence of this song, and understanding that if he did it before, he will do it again. He's the God that raised up Lazarus. He's the God that arose from the grave. And so we get to live not as victims, but as victorious because he is the God of the living.
So good. Meredith Andrews with us, God of the Living. Check it out. And then you let us in on, hey, this is pretty huge because live albums can capture just so much, right, that you can't do in the studio when you have folks there, everybody corporately coming together.
Yes.
Worship album coming up in 2024. Can you believe it? But maybe a single release before then. Tell us about it.
That's the plan. So we recorded a live album at a church in South Nashville, actually in Thompson Station, and it's a historic property. It's actually a barn that they've converted into an event space. We didn't have a stage; it was just a rug, and everybody gathered around the band in the middle, and it was just such a sweet, sweet night. Looking to release a single called "The Lamb, the Lion, and the King" before the new year, and the rest of the songs will follow, hopefully early 2024. But it was such a memorable night, and I'm just so excited for the world to hear these songs and to get to worship the Lord with us. And I'm trusting the Lord's timing in that, but yes, it's different than anything I've ever released before. There's a lot of spontaneous moments. There's a lot of times where I kind of go off the rails and just start singing over the room, and those are some of my favorite moments of the record, and just so expectant and excited to get to release that project.
We are so looking forward to that. Folks can follow you how? I'm sure you're going to put it out on every social media platform. Hey, it's out. Check it out. How can
Yes.
you?
Yeah, so my website is just meredithandrews.com, but you can find me on Instagram at Music, MERE Music, and I'm also on Facebook as well.
Meredith, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate you. We appreciate all your work, your huge heart, and God's blessings to you. Hey, don't forget about Worship Through Israel. You can find all that stuff on our website. And I'm sure that it'll be put as we podcast this particular show, all the details there at worshipthroughisrael.com, a great place to go to. Hey, it's time to go. Thank you so much for hanging with us on Faith Talk today. Have a good weekend. Until next weekend, I'm Rick Probst. See ya.